most of you know, my wife and I spent some time in India. And so we want to just tell you some of what we did there. And so, uh, we've all been given the commission to go wherever God sends us to spread His gospel of love and care, because we all know there's a storm coming. We want to be ready, but we want others to be ready as well. So right now there's some special music that goes along with this. So our family, well, part of our family, wife and I are going to give you a little presentation. Okay, so we want to hide where? In the hollow of God's hand. So my wife and I had the privilege of working in India for what was it, 6.5 years? And India has a lot of people. In fact, right now they have grown to be the largest, population-wise, the largest country in the world. 1.45 billion people. Can you count that high? I can't either. It is also quite anti-Christian. In fact, the President Modi, his goal is to make it Hindustan, a Hindu country. So why would we want to go there? In 2017, we had a totally unexpected invitation to go and work there. God worked out different details, and we knew that it was He that called us to go there. So I worked in the office, the division office. I was the health ministries director, and Cheryl was my associate health ministries director, as well as she took care of the other missionaries that were there serving in India. India is so large that it comprises one division itself, Southeastern Asia Division, SUD for short. One of the, well, we did a lot of, office work, all that type of thing, but we felt the thing that was most beneficial that we did there was helping, doing a missionary, lay missionary, health missionary, medical missionary training program. So training local people. We were not allowed to do evangelism of any sort. We had to sign a thing with the government. I will not proselytize. So, even though I am an ordained pastor, I also have a doctorate in public health. So all my degrees are in health, and so we had to submit all kinds of documentation. But they allowed us to be there, do our work, and so even though we couldn't do evangelism, we trained other people to do it. So we thought we were pretty smart. After all, they can reach far more than we can. They can speak the language. So that made sense to us. So we called our training program Restore Lifestyle Coach Training. Well, shortened, it's called LRCT. RLCT. Am I finished?
Nope.
Oh, okay. I was relaxed. Okay, we had a team. We put a team together because the training program, it takes a lot of people to do something, right? And so we worked with people. We had a team that taught diet, massage, hydrotherapy, how to make poultices, other interventions. We also taught them how to use Bible studies, Bible stories, to get the gospel message across to people, and how to reach people's hearts by Bible stories. We help the students understand what it means to yield their lives to Jesus and how to have victory over temptation. They learned the history of Christianity and many other things that we taught there. So that's some of our.
That's pretty much all of them.
We did even Saturday evening. We had things like marriage counseling,
Marriage preparation,
preparing for marriage,
Christian
all sorts
parenting. Some of these we did just in a one night, one evening, just like a seminar, but they still got a very well-rounded program. It was a 4-month program, so they were very busy the whole day.
The topics on one side, these are mostly health, and that side is mostly spiritual. We even taught them how to sell books, book sales. Experienced colporteurs came, did the training program, and then we went out door to door. The large part of our training program was a classroom, yes, but then we went out and practiced. So by the time they left, they knew how to do. Am I finished yet? No? Okay. In the different groups of students, instead of classes by year, we call them batches. Well, that's their word, batch. So I'm from batch 1, I'm from batch 5. So we did 6 batches. The first one was in 2020, but it was cut short by COVID lockdowns. So we actually did half of the training, then the lockdown came, and we had to switch to online. But how do you practice massage online? Well, yeah, it's a little difficult. So we had, after that we had 5 batches over a period of 2.5 years. And the last one we finished in last December, 2024. And it took a lot of work and a lot of energy. And I taught several classes. My wife taught several classes. Am I finished now? Yeah.
If you notice, the row of staff got longer with each training, because the first ones we did a lot more of the classes, and as we taught the students, we would hire them to come and help us. So they would come first, they would be like assistants, and then we would let them teach the classes. They did good. Yeah, they did a good job.
While we were teaching classes, we told them, listen, because you will be teaching one day. Maybe not here in our training program, but people in your village, they'll ask you, teach us what you're doing.
So most of the rest of our sharing will be about students, little bits of their experience there and how they felt about the training, what it did for them. Okay, just little bits. From batch 1, we had a lady named Nancy. She was a ex-nun. She had been in a convent for many years, from her childhood through her adult, till she was about 25, I think. She became an Adventist just a really short time before she joined our first batch training. Her and her husband and her young son, he was about 9 years old. He was actually one of our best students. We had to tell him, you can't answer the questions. You got to let the adults answer the questions. So he was really good. He took all the tests. He just was part of it. But she had an amazing testimony, sharing about how she became an Adventist. I can't share it with you. There's obviously not time. It's pretty long. But one of my classes that I taught was Christian history. And one class covered spiritual formation. I talked about the labyrinth, prayer stations, the silence, NLP, those kinds of things. And she sat right in the front row, and she was listening very carefully, and she's like, I learned how to do that. And some of them, she said, I'm still doing that. I didn't know that this was part of something I shouldn't be doing. And when we were finished that class, she came to me, she said, thank you so much for helping me to understand how these things actually lead me away from God instead of leading me to God.
One of the things we taught, you can't do ministry without speaking. So we taught them public speaking, how to speak in groups, Many of them were shy, but by the time they finished, we had them up front doing all sorts of things, and then small groups, leading in small groups. So they learned to tell stories and learned to lead out in Sabbath school classes and Vespers, church service. What else?
Meshach was one of our students in the second batch. He doesn't look like he should be shy, but he was shy to get up front and talk.
He was an engineer.
Yeah. And so we introduce it slowly. At first, they only have to tell a Bible story to one person, their friend. They can share it. And he said he wrote lots of notes, and he did it, and he felt good about it. Next time he shared with one person, he said, I didn't have to write notes. I was okay. Well, then we made them go into groups. There they're doing it one-on-one. Then they had to go into small groups. And again, he was so afraid. He wrote lots of notes. He shared it. And he got comfortable doing it in a group. And after doing it in a group, they had to do it in a group up front where they shared. And the same thing happened. He wrote so many notes. He was so afraid. And he got up and he did it. And he's like, I did it. And the last thing they have to do is get up and do it on their own. And he even did that. And he told his dad about it. And his dad's like, okay, now you can come home and preach a sermon.
His parents were very proud of him.
Yeah.
So on Sundays, we took the students for outreach. So I mentioned about teaching them how to do call portering. The first thing we did was take them to do, visit an orphanage. Tell stories, put on a program for orphans. I mean, they're lovable, so it was easy for the students. They had a great time. And some of them, I think, discovered that they could do some things quite well. And they loved the students. Then we had them do surveys door to door and meeting people they never met before, talking to them, but they had a little script. And so they enjoyed that. And then the surveys were inviting people to, at the end of the survey, inviting people to come to a health expo that we held in the community. So we also taught them how to do book sales.
Oh, this is Still Health Expo.
Still Health Expo. So we taught them to do all sorts of things in each of the stations. So registration, blood pressure, blood sugar, and then a massage. Taught them how to do that, chair massage. And then at the end, we had doctors giving consultations, consulting. They would ask questions. So there's certain students learn to do that. At the end, they also all lined up for pictures. So that's a lot of students to manage. You have 13 students on your canoe trip. Blessings on you. They were very respectful, and if they didn't know how to do something, they would come and ask. They would ask from the other students, and they were all really, really good. We were proud of our students. Okay, so we also did. Okay. I did it. Got your turn.
This is Perugia. She was in our 5th batch. She was about 16 years old. She made a decision to be baptized after our training, and she actually changed the date because she wanted us to come so badly, and we couldn't attend. And after
Perugia came a very fashionable young lady.
She, during Sabbath school at her baptism, I was sitting by another one of our students that was a really good friend of Perugia. And the whole thing was in Tamil, so I didn't understand anything. So Jerusha and I were kind of whispering in English. And she was telling me some stories on Perugia. She said, before she came to your training, she was a very rebellious girl. She didn't want her dad was a pastor, okay? So she had to go to church. But she wasn't interested in religion. And whenever there was a baptism, her mother would say, Grusha, raise your hand. You know, they're asking for people who want to be baptized. And she says, I don't want to be baptized. If you want to be baptized, you raise your hand. So that gives you an idea that her heart was hard, okay? And so then they told her about RLCT, and she didn't want to come. And finally, somebody convinced her to come, but the reason she came was she'd be away from her parents, and they promised if she came, they'd let her have a cell phone so she could communicate with them. So she didn't cause us any trouble. She was mischievous, but she was fun, and she sat right in the front row, and she paid really good attention in class.
She was very friendly, lovable. You could see the shell was softening.
The second to last weekend, we always have a communion service. And during that service, her heart was touched. The following week, in one of the last classes, the teacher taught about the second coming and going to heaven. And she felt this desire in her heart that she wanted to go to heaven. And after that, they all go on 1 month practicum course where we assign them to different places around India. They have to go and actually do what we've taught them how to do. So by the time they're finished that, they've done a whole list of requirements they had to finish, and they were quite comfortable going out and working.
Yeah, they can set up their own program, their own home, taking a patient.
But the place we sent her to, they wouldn't have let them have cell phones while they were there, except for like a couple hours a week. So she couldn't use her cell phone, which gave her evenings that were free. And during that time, the Holy Spirit was still working on her heart, and she read 3 or 4 Spirit of Prophecy books. And she decided that she was going to give her heart to Jesus. And she told us, I want to be baptized. I want you to come for my baptism. And so we were there.
It was amazing. Well, she actually set a date when her father could be there and a few other people, and she called us. This is the day that we want you to come. I want you to come. And we said, but we can't, that date, we can't, and we can't change this other appointment. She said, no problem, I'll change my date. So she changed her date to a time when we could come. So we went there, and it was very special.
And people came and told us she's changed so much. Yeah.
It's amazing how the Lord works on the hearts of people.
And then there's Satya. She was in 6th batch. Very cheerful girl. Yeah.
She had a hard time speaking English. I think Hindi was her, no? Tamil? Oh,
Canada.
But she was so eager to talk, so she was fun to communicate with.
Yeah, a couple of weeks after the first batch, she came and sat with me to eat. And, we talked, and usually the students, when they're finished eating, they just get up and go. And she finished, and she still sat there. And I'm like, I think there's something she wants to share. So I asked her a few questions. I asked her a bit about why she came. She said, I came to learn how to do medical missionary work. Well, everybody says that, because that's what we do, right? And I found out she had studied in Adventist schools until 10th standard, 10th grade. Then she had to transfer to a government school, and it sounded like she struggled in that school. And then she needed to decide, should I do nursing or should I go to RLCT? And really it's not one or the other, but for a year it's one or the other because our training's like 5 months. And so she applied to come. Well, we put her on the wait list because her English wasn't very good, and everything that we do there is in English. And if you have a struggle with English, then you have a struggle with understanding. And so just a couple days before classes started, we decided we would take her, and we let her know, and so she was happy and she came. But while we were sitting there and talking, she said, just before I got that acceptance, I was so discouraged, I didn't know what to do, and I decided to commit suicide. And then I got your acceptance. And she said, and I'm so happy I could come here. I'm learning so much and I'm so enjoying it. You know, there's so many young people in India that think that's a way out. Yeah, a lot of them.
So one of our things was practice, practice, practice. Students learned in the classroom, of course, and then they practiced on each other. And then after that, they went out and practiced on real people. But this was, they had fun practicing on each other. Oh, well, you know. So things like hydrotherapy, massage, poultices, and massage. And there's Dr. Daniel there showing them exactly how to do it.
And when they did poultices, everybody had to put on a poultice. And then, of course, they would all pose, showing all their poultices and how they were.
And they got to feel, if you put too much ginger in, they got to feel, okay, you don't keep this on very long. So.
They learned how to cook plant-based meals with very little oil.
There's still Indian-style food. Indian meals are very good, but too much oil. Far too much oil. Okay, so Cheryl's job at RLCT was the registrar, collect all the information so the committee could make a decision on who should come, who shouldn't, and the accountant, keep track of the money. And speaking of money, we had a sponsor that took care of a lot of the expenses, but we learned that each student had to pay something, so they would value the training they were getting. So I think there was 3 in the whole 6 batches, 3 that actually paid their whole fees. So it was about close to $1,000 US Canadian per person. So she was the accountant. So that's food and lodging and training, all the supplies. And so Cheryl was a teacher. She was the pianist and also choir director. So she had a lot on her plate.
I started choir with the first batch because we realized they had no music education. They didn't understand, well, most of the time they only had songs with words, not music even, so they weren't even familiar with music. And so I showed them some theory, and we started teaching them how to sing harmony, which most of them didn't know. And they had a lot of fun learning the same song but a different song. Because the words were the same, but the music was different. We would split them up and have them practice. And they liked it so much, we decided to do it for every batch. So everyone was in the choir. We had some huge challenges because some of them never even learned to sing at all, but they were still in the choir. So you hope the ones that know how to sing will sing loud enough when they sing special music to cover up the ones that can't sing very well. But it worked.
Their traditional music over there is, their scale has a lot of half steps in it. So a lot of times it sounds flat to us. But
and every commissioning program, that was our last weekend, the choir sang 3 songs, 1 song for each meeting that we had. And there was one student from our first batch, he loved the choir, second batch. He loved the choir so much that he made sure he came to every commissioning service so he could sing in the choir again. Because we did 1 song, everybody that was an alumni joined and we sang the song all together. And so they really enjoyed that. And then when we had a reunion a couple of months after we finished the training, we had about 120 students come from our 210 total. And most of the congregation was our students, but we still got up and sang, and they really enjoyed it. And this is supposed to play it some way. Why is there another one? Okay. think it's going to be loud enough. These are people that really didn't know how to sing very well. I think for people that, one of our students that we hired to be staff who worked with us for, I asked him right at the end, I said, Joma, before you came here, what did you sing? He said, I didn't sing anything. I didn't even sing in church. I didn't sing anything. And he could sing melody, he could sing tenor, he could sing bass by the time he left. It was good because he was a pastor, so he learned to sing. He enjoyed it. Ed was responsible for arranging Sabbath services, making sure that they happened.
Well, arranging speakers we tried to introduce them to other speakers from around India that good speakers. So we got them, and depending on where they were sent on the practicum, they had somebody to link to, somebody they knew already.
He was also responsible for discipline at the training, and what else? He taught some classes.
I taught nutrition, mental health, coaching, or anatomy and physiology. It was fun. I enjoyed. Well, the discipline wasn't so fun, but a couple of the young guys that I was mentoring to be leaders, I took them with me every time I had to discipline somebody, and so it was valuable helping them to learn. So, okay. So Friday evening we would have Vespers, and then after the Vespers we would sing I Want to Go to Heaven. So it's a song that's put together based on a vision that Ellen White had. So then after that, Cher would hug the girls and I would hug the guys.
And they would all hug too.
Yeah, at first it was just guys hugging guys, girls hugging girls, but
well, at first they didn't even know what to do.
oh, okay.
Some would just stand there. You put your arms around them and they'd just stand there. And after doing that for a couple of weeks, a couple of Fridays, they kind of got the idea and they started hugging. There was one girl that she really didn't know what to do, and after a few weeks it was her turn to get hugged, and it was like she ran to me and threw her arms around me and hugged me so tight. I was like, where did you learn how to hug? And she says, you taught me. And actually she told me that she didn't know how to hug before that. And this isn't unusual. There was some girls that I hugged, some little short girls that I hugged, and they would giggle. And finally I said, like, what are you giggling about? They said, I wasn't hugged before and it feels so good. It feels so good. Some of them would cry when I hugged them because they weren't used to that and it was special.
The parents put a lot of pressure on them to succeed in school, and a lot of times the students don't feel don't feel the acceptance from their parents because they can't measure up to the perfect standard that their students, because the parents want them to be doctors, money making professions, and so the students have a hard time with being accepted. So we did our best to love them, help them feel accepted. Okay. Lorna taught a series of classes. This is Cheryl's sister. During the training program, and one of the classes she talked about bitterness and forgiveness. And there was a young lady named Dina. Dina was actually married a couple years by that time. And when she got married, she had a good relationship with her mother-in-law, but something happened along the way, and her mother-in-law then wouldn't speak to her, and she tried to apologize to her mother for what she didn't know, and
Sorry, she didn't try.
okay, after she learned about forgiveness,
Yeah.
then she went to her mother-in-law and tried to apologize and make it better, heal the relationship. But her mother-in-law wouldn't open up, or wouldn't talk to her. But then the mother-in-law had a heart attack.
Just like a week after she tried to apologize, she had a heart attack.
And ended up in a hospital. And who do you think the first one the mother-in-law called?
She wanted Dina there.
Yeah, Dina, come and visit me. And the mother-in-law said, I forgive you. Will you forgive me? And Dina came back just glowing. And there's a lot of, you did this to me, I'm going to pay you back. So forgiveness, it was a big thing. Many of the students said, I learned to forgive and feel free.
They carried a lot of bitterness, and when you have unforgiveness and bitterness in your heart, it's really hard to listen to the Holy Spirit because there's a block there. So we helped them to understand how to deal with those things. Another girl we had, her name's Stacy. Actually, her name was Moline, but she asked us to call her Stacy. She came to us, vibrant girl, very vivacious, totally outgoing. And she won everybody's hearts. But she didn't come easily because she applied and we accepted her, and then they have to respond and say they're going to come so that we know. And she didn't respond. She didn't answer. And training was supposed to start in just less than a week, and she still hadn't said yes or no to acceptance. And I don't usually call the students. We have somebody else that does the phoning, but I felt really convicted that I needed to call her. And so I did, and I talked to her and asked her some questions, and we had a discussion, and I said, I know you'll be blessed if you come, but you need to decide because we need to know. And so within a very, like half an hour, she responded. She said, yes, I will come. And she told me later, if I hadn't have called her, she wouldn't have come. And she was so happy that I had called her. But she shared one day when we were talking about her traumatic home life, very traumatic upbringing she had. And she said, here I'm learning to let God be in control of my life. I'm learning to yield to Him. She said, and I want this experience not just for the few months that I'm here. I want it for always. I want it to stay there. She said, the last weekend that when we did our our agape supper, our communion, when we were standing around the circle afterwards singing, I noticed she was crying. So when I went around the hugging, I got to her and she was still crying. So I hugged her and she just hugged me and she sobbed and sobbed. She couldn't stop crying, and I had And she didn't stop. She went crying. And so the next day, I said, Stacy, what were you thinking last night? What was happening? Oh, she said, I've had bitterness and I couldn't forgive it. I couldn't let it go. And during communion last night, God spoke to my heart and I forgave. And she said, I felt so free and so wonderful and I just couldn't stop crying. So when she shared that all the students have to share at commissioning, how God has worked in their life, how they've been blessed, what's happened. So when she shared, she said, you know, I was a very rebellious girl. And her friends all told us she was a very naughty girl. Very rebellious, always into trouble at school, and mean, not getting along with people. And she said, but coming here, God has taken my hard, stony heart, and he's given me a heart of flesh. And she said, and my world is turned upside down. And her fiance said, I really like her the way she is now.
We went to her wedding. It was quite a festival. Okay, it was difficult for some students to come. A lot of professions. We had medical doctors, nurses, engineers, teachers, and then some students, they would miss a year of school, but many of them wanted to come, so they came.
Sorry, these were supposed to be shown earlier.
So
no, this is our communion service.
Agape.
I don't have any pictures of her wedding in here.
Just before our communion.
This is Selva. He was about 18 when he came.
This sister was one of our teachers.
Yeah. He said he came to be a medical missionary. I asked him what he wanted to do. He thought for a few minutes and he said, actually, ma'am, I didn't want to come here. When I got my acceptance letter, I cried. I'm like, okay, Selva, tell me what's happening. He said, well, and we knew his father had passed away just a few months before. But at that time, he was rebellious and he actually left home. He didn't want to be there. And so it was really bothering him. He wasn't there when his dad passed away. But he knew his dad wanted him to be a medical missionary. And so he applied. We accepted him. But he didn't, in his heart, he hadn't really wanted to be there. And he said he struggled a lot because he had been rebellious. But you know, God works miracles in people's lives. And after one class, he walked beside me and he said, ma'am, I'm feeling so lonely. I'm like, Selva, why are you feeling lonely? He said, I don't know, I have this empty place in my heart. And I'm like, Selva, God wants his Holy Spirit to abide there. You need to go and talk to him and tell him, Lord, I'm empty, I need you. And he did. He went and talked to God and God blessed him. Now he's studying at Spicer.
So we played games. It wasn't all hard work. Is that games?
No, that's hard work.
No.
They're writing exams in that picture.
Yeah, we had a comprehensive exam at the very end. I kept the records. So we played games. We went on a hike up a mountain near the end. We had a picnic. We had a great time. I would play soccer with them. I would play cricket with them. They tried to teach me how to play cricket. Cricket is a strange game. But I tried. So this is on top of a mountain, and you can see it looks like there's always a fire going on. See the sky there? It's all smoggy in India. We prayed together. A lot of times, we would pray with the students. Sometimes one by one, sometimes in groups. And we noticed that they started praying with each other as well.
This is Vinolia. I did a lot of my asking questions while we were eating together. And so I asked her, what she'd learned here. And she's like, I've learned so many things. I've learned so much. And I was never happy before I came here. I cried every day. They have a lot of stress, like Ed said. And she said, now I found how to have peace in my heart. She said, I never felt love before I came here, and now I know what love feels like. Then they can relate to God's love, right? They need to understand human love, like little children, so they can understand God's love.
During our last batch commissioning program, we were privileged to have 8 of our students baptized. And, well, there was alumni as well, some of the former classes that were baptized. It was great to see them baptized. We had to be careful. If they were Hindus, we had to get a written, they had to write a letter. We had to keep it on file at the church that they chose themselves to become a Christian. We didn't pay them. We didn't entice them with any rewards. They made the choice themselves. We kept that on record because we could be sued, or sometimes they arrange mobs to come and. Yeah.
We actually had, I think, 6 total of non-Adventists, and some of them were Hindus when they came, that were had a very small information about Adventism, about Christianity, but they had heard about our training and what it was like, and they wanted to come and experience it. And all of them except one was baptized. This is Sweetie.
So she's a good example. She was Hindu.
Yeah. She was about 30 years old. She was Hindu. She had been in contact with Christians before coming, and it was during COVID. She was in contact with an Adventist online doing some Bible studies. And this lady said, I'm going to this RLCP training. You should come too. So Sweetie decided to come. When her father found out she was going to a Pentecostal church before coming, he was very angry at her and beat her. And after she was there 4 days, her parents didn't know where she was. They called her and said, your grandfather's very sick, you have to come home. And I went over to talk to her, and she cried, and I don't want to go, but she had to. Even though she was 30, they're not out of their parents' authority until the parents die, pretty much. So she wept, and she packed up, and she went home. And she didn't come back. But the next batch, she reapplied. Please, I still want to come. So we accepted her again. She was there about 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And I think the devil was really working. Her sister was in an accident in the hospital. The parents, again, didn't know where she was, but they said, you have to come home. We need you at home. So she went home, packed up, with tears, she left. And 2 days later, she messaged me, please, I want to come back. Let me come back. And I'm like, come back. So she did. She said, my parents don't care about me at all. All they wanted was my money. They don't love me. They don't want me. So I gave them some money, and I came back. And during our training, we teach all the doctrines. We teach them how to give their heart to Jesus, to surrender. And at about a couple of weeks before the closing, I was walking with her one Sabbath afternoon, and she's like, ma'am, I want to be baptized. I said, well, you understand. You've learned. And she was, I think in that batch, she was probably the best Bible storyteller of everybody. And she'd hardly heard the Bible stories before coming there. She was a good student. And so we made arrangements for her baptism. And she said, I'm not telling my family. She was 30. She could get baptized. But somehow her father found out. And he called her up and he said, if you get baptized, I'm going to kill you. It's serious over there. He said, and if I don't kill you, something's going to happen to you and you're going to die anyway. So she came to me and I said, sweetie, it's your choice. We're willing to baptize you, but it has to be is your decision. And she says, no, I'm ready to die. I want to. So we baptized her. And
No pictures?
oh, I have a picture of her.
Well, you're the only one. We could not put these, well, she had to make the letter, and we kept it on file.
Yeah.
So,
And now she's working as a RLCT, a lifestyle coach. She's been for the last 3 or 4 years doing it. Yeah.
okay, our goal was not only to teach, but to mentor. And so we wanted to make leaders because we knew that we were getting older, even though we didn't like to think so, but so we wanted people to take our place and keep on teaching. So some of them, they gave us their assessment of how things changed in their lives and what a difference it made in their hearts. The next one here is Samra. She said, this has made a great impact in my life. She was a school teacher, very accomplished school teacher. The things I have learned were so new. God's ways are wonderful. She's working up in northern India now.
Here, mixed up with somebody else.
Okay. She's
She
a
was a
wonderful
nurse.
person.
Yeah, lovely lady. This is Sneha. Sneha, when she came, she was angered, easily offended, and she understood during the training that God could change her. She didn't have to be sensitive. She didn't have to be moody, that God would work in her. And so she surrendered her life to Jesus. And I saw a huge difference in her, and others did as well. She was willing to help. She became one of our teachers for a batch. She was good with massage and hydrotherapy. And she said, before I came, I thought whatever I did was good. But after coming, I learned how to be connected with God. And then I realized I wasn't good. And that helped me to forgive others, because she wouldn't forgive others. And because I had so much bitterness in my life, and now I have peace.
Next one here is Soso. He was pastor. He was from the northeast of India, near Burma. He looked a little bit like the North Korean leader. So he got some teasing now and again. But anyway, he said he was blessed and he was grateful beyond words to have joined this amazing spirit-led program. Not only the experience of closeness I've had with God, but the practical approach received through teaching and training. He said, I will be forever grateful. So.
See, we helped the pastors that had a hard time getting into people's homes. We taught them how to do natural healing. And so they could get into someone's home as not a medical person, but somebody that understood how to do natural healing, where they wouldn't ever get in that home if they just knocked and said, I have a book to sell you, or do you want Bible studies? And so it was a huge tool for these pastors.
Northeast India, there's a lot of Christians in some of the states, and the communities are totally Baptist. The Baptists will not let Seventh-day Adventist pastors come in. This is our community. You guys are sheep stealers. Don't come here. But when they learned about doing health expos and health, those pastors started inviting them to come into their community and teach their church members about health. So that opened the doors.
Here's Jennifer. She was homeschooled, raised alone pretty much. And she said, one of my favorite classes was Christian history. In every closing prayer of that class, my eyes were filled with tears. I never slept in that class. Also, the class on Mount of Blessing. I read the book before this class, but it helped me to change some of my habits. I also learned to mingle and adjust with my friends and roommates here, because they all had quite a few roommates, so she really enjoyed it.
Another pastor, Junish, he said, another thing I learned is total surrender to God. The series, The Way of Life, was wonderful. It helped me to find Jesus and experience and follow him and to share the joy of salvation with others. It helped me to acknowledge my unworthiness and accept Jesus. This is strange for a pastor, and accept Jesus. I learned to ask and give forgiveness. Now this is Ebby. Ebby loved music. The first part.
This is Purusha's brother.
The part I enjoyed the most is Sabbath, especially the choir practice. I loved it. One time his parents came to visit, and in the afternoon, they wanted Ebby to go with them to visit some of their family members in the community. Ebby says, "No, I'm not going. I'm staying here because we have choir practice this afternoon, and I am not missing it." So he stayed. He loved me. And did I finish here?
No.
After coming here, I started depending upon God, even for the small things. Instead of asking someone, I prayed to God, and really, God answered my prayer. Ebby.
This is Pushpa. I'm just going to read what she wrote. She said,
One more thing about Ebby. He didn't quite know what he wanted to do. Like, he was 16, I think, when he first came. And then, because of doing massage, poultice, he decided he was going to become a physiotherapist. So he's, I think he's in his final year now, physiotherapy.
so this is what Pushpa said. And her English isn't the best, but this is what she said. When we all came first day, how timid and fearful we were, shy, like newborn babies. But through God, all of you fed us with truth and information mixed with love and affection, and day by day helped us grow. Slowly but steadily we, with your support and God's help, developed. You all made us be equipped well in sharing what we learned. We're very happy and thankful to you for giving such a wonderful, life-changing, and empowered ministry and tools for us to do ministry and reach people for God. Here's a few experiences that our students had while they were doing their practicums.
There was one group up at Calcutta. It was actually a training school that Bill Dull started. And so we would send our students there. They had like a 4 or 6 bed kind of a hospital. And so patients would come there, and so our students got to practice on the patients. And real people, real patients. So they enjoyed it. But this last batch, our students went there, and they would go out into the community visiting as well. And this one community, they started visiting, and the community members said, we don't want you here. Don't. But they kept persisting. And they would go in and talk to them and then help them with healing some things. And when their month was over, the practicum was over, they went back and they told them, okay, we're going to be leaving now. We're going back to our home places. And those people in that village started crying, don't go, don't go. Nobody ever cared for us like you do. So they, a little bit of persistence changes people's hearts.
So during my practicum, I got to work with one Hindu lady. She came because she had osteoarthritis, and when she first came, she was not able to walk without pain. It was very painful, and she couldn't walk fast. She was not able to write with a pen at all. She also had some stages of liver disease because she was taking so many painkillers for her arthritis. So Dr. Enoch, which is standing on the right hand side, he put her on a juice fast and exercise program, and I, along with my friend Linnell, worked with her doing hydrotherapy and poultices. Lots of hot foot baths, Russian steam baths. The first day we did a hot foot bath and she wouldn't sweat. at all. And if you've ever been hot, you sweat. But she wouldn't. She was too full of toxins. By the last day, like within 5 minutes of the treatment, she was sweating so much. We also did poultices, ginger and charcoal and castor oil on her joints, her fingers, her toes, her knees. And by the end, oh yeah, we had stories too. So during our hot foot bath and Russian steam bath treatments, we were trained to tell Bible stories. And the first day, we just were trying to get to know her, so we talked about it. And then after we went back, Linnell and I we should tell her a Bible story. So we decided on, I think it was the story of Moses. And that's a very, very long story. But we started it the next day, and she seemed to enjoy it. She was kind of quiet. The next day when we came back, we both decided separately, we didn't talk to each other, we were going to wait. We weren't going to tell the story until she asked. And she did. She was like, so what happened next? So we got to tell the story further along. On Friday, we told her God's story, which is redemption basically from the fall of Lucifer to the second coming. And she also talked to Dr. Enoch asking, what is sin? So I definitely saw the Holy Spirit working on her heart while she was there. By the time she left, after 5 days, she could walk fast with no pain. Dr. Enoch came down one morning and saw her sitting at the table writing away. And he was like, what are you doing? Like, you can't, does that hurt? And she's like, no, I can write just fine. It doesn't hurt at all. So in 5 days, God really blessed those treatments, and yeah, we saw how beneficial they were. There was one lady behind my grandparents' house on the compound. She did something to her knee. I don't know what she did to it, but it was very, very sore. She was having a hard time walking. Her husband had to go away on a trip, and he didn't want to leave her because she couldn't get around. And we decided that we were going to go give her a poultice. I think we gave her a cabbage poultice. And she had no clue what we were doing. She was very skeptical that it was going to help at all. But we put it on in the evening. We prayed with her, and then we had to go do something else. But the next morning, her pain was gone. And she was very thankful, and she really wanted to know more about these natural remedies that do work. Yeah, that was a miracle.
That's an example of one of our students who became a teacher. She came back, taught. Okay, we're almost finished.
Here's a student teaching children. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why these are here. Just go ahead and do the next one. Right here.
Okay, we had several supervisors who once were students. When we sent our students out for practicum around India, they were under supervision of people. And so the supervisors would give us some feedback afterwards, and most of them said, oh, your students are very confident. They know what they're doing, and they go about doing it. So we were proud of that. One supervisor who was a nurse, she had a health center. She said, you know, I didn't expect that RLCT students, that the training was very good. I never thought that it would be good, I could see by the lives of the students that you taught them how to work well and that they know exactly what they are doing. And it's so wonderful, she said. You did a wonderful training job with them. They have done really well. I think she wanted to employ some of our students to work with her after their training program or their practice.
So we have a few students. We're going to show you their pictures and tell you what they're doing now. This is Tang. He's working up north. He goes around and does evangelism in different villages, in different people's homes. He's baptized many, many people. And he's an amazing worker for God up there.
Next one is Satyan Daniel. He has a lifestyle center and he's reversing disease, and he has some amazing stories about people that have come to him, and the doctors gave up on these patients, and they come to him, and over time his program reverses the disease.
That's the team. All of our students working with him.
At one point he had something like 31 patients.
Yeah.
They're coming.
And then we have Cherishma and Mercy, which is, anyway. And they are going all over and doing health expos. That's what we call them here. And they're finding people that need help, and they're doing natural remedies on them, and they're sharing health talks, and they're touching many, many lives. And God has worked mightily in their hearts.
Next one is Dr. Enoch. He used to teach in a medical school, and then he took our training, and he is now a naturopathic doctor, and he's done a course in nutrition. And he has a lifestyle center.
And then there's Joma. Joma we hired to be one of our workers. And when he first came...
Joma is actually Jonathan, and when you put Oma on the end...
just Ma.
Ma. On the end of a word, name, that's very endearing. It's like Dear Cheryl. So
Cheryl
Joma. Cheryl Ma.
So he actually studied at Spicer, and he was supposed to get his master's degree, and instead of going to graduation, he came and joined our LCT, and then we hired him to teach. He struggled with the students over there. If you're young and you're an Indian, they don't respect you, especially if the student was older than him, and he wasn't that old. And so he had some real challenges with some of his students disrespecting him because they didn't think he was old enough to be respected. And he would come angry that they had treated him rudely. And we would pray with him and counsel him and help him to understand, we're here representing Jesus, and it doesn't matter how people talk to you or how they treat you. You respond to them with respect. And he had some huge challenges, and he learned how to deal with those in a wonderful way. I could tell you some stories, but I think we're out of time. So Joma now is pastoring. He has his own church. He's teaching his people how to do natural remedies, how to tell God's story, and he's working with the children, and he said, this is such a blessing for me.
Several of our students are actually starting to run their training program. Maybe one student they have, but in their own places. Okay, the next one is Akash. This is his team. He has a health center in Patna. In the whole city, there's one Adventist church, and it's a huge city. Make the story short, they had a hard time getting patients, so they started doing these health expos, even on the side of the street, little things on nutrition, and these two non-Adventist pastors came to one of their programs, and they said, hey, can you come and teach our church people? So they did, and so they ended up working with 8 different non-Adventist pastors, and to make the story real short, two of those pastors have been baptized, joined the Adventist church. All of the 8 pastors and their churches are keeping Sabbath. So just teaching about health developed into teaching all of the doctrines the Adventist church teaches.
And this is in a state in India where they had very, very, very few Adventists. Very few Adventists.
Well, this says RLCT. That was on that hike on the top of the mountain. Had a drone. So, I hope this has inspired you. I hope this wasn't just entertainment. We think of that one girl, Sweetie. Are you willing to die for your faith? Well, there's some serious thought. You don't have to go to the other side of the world. In fact, there's a lot of Indians coming here. When people come from a different country, it takes them a bit to get familiar, culturalized in the new surroundings. And at that point, they're really open to friendship. We learned how to do this instead of saying yes. One worker came to my office and he asked me, 3 times he asked me the question, and I said, twice I said yes. And finally I went like this, and he said, okay, and then he left. I said, well, that has more power than yes, the word yes. So, God was good to us. We had some challenges, some close calls, but if you go through life with no scars, what have you done? That's a serious thought. I have a few scars I picked up over there. But God spared my life. God has been good. So I just want to encourage you, pray for opportunities that the Lord will give you to witness for Him. He'll give you opportunities that you can handle. So God bless you as you serve Him. And again, our scripture reading was about, there's poor around us. And helping the poor actually shows what's in our heart. So, okay, our closing hymn. Somebody tell us what our closing hymn is.